Faith, From Brokenness to Bravery, A Story of Unshakable Faith by Nick Vujicic is a journey that proves no obstacle is too great when faith, resilience, things, and courage lead the way. Born without limbs, Nick's life is a testimony of turning pain into purpose, despair into hope, things, and struggles into strength. This speech invites listeners to rise above fear, embrace faith, things, and step into the fullness of their potential with unshakable bravery. Brokenness is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. Things. And in the story of human life, nothing holds more truth than this reality. When we face brokenness, we often believe it is the final chapter, things, the closing line in the book of our story. We look at the shattered pieces of our lives, dreams that didn't work out, things, relationships that collapsed, health that declined, or failures that seem unbearable. And we assume that there is no coming back from it, things. Brokenness feels final because it carries pain, loss, and the weight of disappointment. Yet, things. What most of us don't realize is that brokenness is not the grave of our destiny, but the soil where transformation begins to grow. Things. It is in those very moments when life seems torn apart that the seeds of strength, courage, and resilience are planted. Things, waiting to bloom into something greater than we ever imagined. When Nick Vujicic talks about brokenness, things, his very existence challenges the definition of limitation. Born without arms and legs, he could have allowed brokenness to define him, things, to tell him that his life had no value or that his future would forever be restricted by what he lacked. But instead, things. His story reveals that brokenness is not where the journey ends, it is where it begins. Brokenness has a way of stripping us of illusions, things, of shaking the foundations we thought we could rely on and forcing us to confront who we really are beyond the surface, things. It takes away the comforts that keep us passive and exposes the inner strength that lies dormant until hardship awakens it. Things. The world often teaches us to avoid brokenness, to run from pain, and to mask our struggles as if they were shameful things. But transformation does not happen in moments of ease. Transformation is born in moments of struggle, things, where every piece of you feels like it's falling apart, and yet in that falling apart, you discover what you are truly made of, things. Brokenness softens the heart in ways that nothing else can. It humbles us. It teaches us empathy, things. It teaches us to look beyond ourselves and recognize the struggles of others, things. A heart that has been broken can understand another broken heart in a way that words cannot capture. It teaches us compassion, things, the kind that cannot be faked because it comes from lived experience. Things. It is through our own wounds that we find the strength to help heal the wounds of others. When Nick shares his story, things, he speaks not from a place of perfection, but from a place of brokenness transformed into a platform of inspiration. Things. That transformation did not come overnight. It came through tears, through moments of hopelessness, things, through seasons of questioning why life had to be so hard. And yet, those very questions became the fuel for discovering deeper meaning, things. Many people believe that brokenness disqualifies them from success, but the opposite is true, things. Brokenness qualifies you for transformation because it removes the false pride of self, sufficiency, and teaches reliance on faith, on hope, on perseverance. The diamond is formed under pressure, gold is refined by fire, and strong trees grow in the midst of storms. Likewise, things. Greatness is not born out of perfection, but out of brokenness that is embraced and transformed. Things. If you look at the stories of some of the most influential figures in history, you will see that their journeys were paved with brokenness. Things. They did not emerge from comfortable circumstances. They were not handed lives free of trials. Instead, things. Their brokenness became the foundation of their bravery. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for years before becoming a leader of reconciliation. Things. Helen Keller overcame the darkness and silence of her world to inspire millions. Things. Nick Vujicic turned what the world called a disability into a testimony of limitless possibility. Their brokenness did not stop them. Things. It started them. The mistake many make is seeing brokenness as evidence that something is wrong with them, when in reality, things. Brokenness is often a sign that growth is taking place, just as a seed must break open in the soil before it can grow into a tree. Things. Just as clay must be broken down before it can be molded into something beautiful. Things. So too must we sometimes experience seasons of breaking in order to be reshaped into the fullness of who we are meant to become. Things. Brokenness shifts our focus from external achievements to internal growth. Things. It forces us to stop running after things that don't matter and pay attention to the deeper truths within. Things. It is often through brokenness that people discover faith, because they realize that their strength alone is not enough to carry them. Things. And in that discovery, they unlock a source of resilience that is far greater than anything they could manufacture on their own. Things. Nick's faith became the anchor that transformed his brokenness into courage. It didn't erase the challenges. Things. But it gave him a lens through which challenges became opportunities. Things. That's what brokenness does when embraced with the right perspective. It takes what was meant to break you and turns it into the very thing that builds you. Things. Every scar, every tear, every moment of pain can become a stepping stone if we allow it. Transformation is not about erasing the broken pieces. Things. It's about using them to create a new design, one stronger and more beautiful than before. Things. Brokenness has another gift. It reveals the truth that our worth is not tied to our perfection. Society teaches us to equate value with success. Things. Beauty or flawless achievement, but brokenness exposes that lie. You are not valuable because you are unbroken. Things. You are valuable because even in your brokenness, you carry strength, purpose, and potential. Things. Nick often reminds people that even though he has no arms and legs, his worth is not diminished. In fact, things. It is amplified because his story shows that no limitation can diminish the value of a human life. Things. Transformation through brokenness is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Life will always bring challenges, losses, and setbacks. Things. But each time you face them, you are given another opportunity to grow stronger, to rise higher, and to live with deeper authenticity. Things. Brokenness teaches you resilience, and resilience becomes the fuel for every victory ahead. The truth is, brokenness will visit every life. Things. No one escapes it. But what defines you is not whether you encounter brokenness. It is whether you allow it to stop you or transform you. Things. Some people stay stuck in their brokenness, replaying their pain again and again. Things, while others choose to rise from it and use it as the foundation of a new chapter. Brokenness does not disqualify you, it refines you. Things. It does not mean you are weak, it means you are ready to grow. The cracks in your life are not signs of failure. Things. They are openings where light can enter. Brokenness is not the end of your story. Things. It is the beginning of your transformation. True strength is born when faith overcomes fear. Things. And this truth is one of the greatest revelations a person can embrace in the journey of life. Fear is universal. Things. It touches every human being in some form. It might be the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of loss, the fear of the unknown. Things. Or even the fear of not being enough. Fear is loud, persuasive, and persistent, whispering that you are too weak, too broken, things, or too unworthy to rise above the challenges in front of you. It convinces people to stay in their comfort zones, to settle for less, and to give up before they even try. But the antidote to fear is faith, and when faith takes root in the heart, it produces a strength that is not dependent on circumstances, abilities, or external resources. Faith is what transforms ordinary individuals into extraordinary examples of resilience, courage, and hope. Faith does not mean that fear disappears completely. Even the strongest people have felt fear pressing in on them during the darkest nights of their lives. The difference is that faith gives you the courage to keep moving forward despite the fear. It whispers louder than doubt. things, reminding you that what you cannot see is still possible, that what seems impossible is not final, things, and that your limitations do not define your destiny. When Nick Vujicic stands before millions of people sharing his story, things, his presence alone is living proof that faith can overcome fear. Born without arms and legs, things, he faced fears most of us cannot imagine. Fear of being rejected, fear of never belonging, fear of not living a meaningful life. Yet, things, rather than being paralyzed by those fears, he leaned into faith. That faith told him that even though he could not see the whole picture, things, there was a purpose for his life beyond his present pain. True strength is not measured by physical power, wealth, or status. Things. It is measured by the ability to trust in something greater than yourself when everything around you is uncertain. Things. Strength born of faith is unshakable because it does not rely on temporary circumstances. It does not crumble when trials come. Things, and it does not give up when doors close. It is steady, consistent, things, and enduring because it comes from the deep conviction that there is meaning in the struggle and hope beyond the hardship. Fear says, what if I fall? Faith responds, what if you fly? Fear says, you don't have what it takes. Faith counters, things. You have more than you realize. Fear focuses on the obstacle. Faith fixes its gaze on the opportunity hidden within the obstacle. Things. Fear shrinks dreams. Faith expands them. Things. The beauty of faith overcoming fear is that it produces strength not only for yourself, but for others who witness your journey. Things. When you choose faith, you create a ripple effect of courage. People see that if you can rise above your circumstances, things, they too can rise above theirs. Things. Nick has inspired countless individuals, not because his life was free of fear, but because he allowed faith to carry him through it. Things. He chose to believe that even without limbs, his life had meaning, and that belief became the platform upon which he built his strength. Things. That strength gave him the ability to speak to people facing their own fears. Cancer patients, bullied teenagers, struggling parents, prisoners, things, and business leaders alike, and remind them that faith can turn their fear into fuel for growth. Fear is powerful, but it is also a liar. Things. It convinces people to live small, to remain silent, to hide their talents, and to give up before trying. Faith exposes those lies. Things. Faith is not blind optimism. It is the conviction that even when the path is not clear, there is a way forward. Things. Faith sees possibility where fear sees only limitation. Faith chooses action even when the outcome is uncertain. Things. Faith chooses to hope when despair seems more logical. Things. True strength comes from this kind of faith because it is not based on how strong you feel, but on the decision to trust in what is greater than your fear. Things. Think of the moments in history when individuals had every reason to be consumed by fear yet chose faith instead. Things. Leaders who faced persecution but pressed forward because they believed in freedom. Things. Parents who faced poverty but trusted that their children's future could be brighter. Things. Survivors who endured loss but found the courage to rebuild their lives. Their strength did not come from circumstances being easy. Things. It came from faith that carried them through the fear. Strength that is born in faith is lasting because it has been tested in the fire of trials. Things. When fear pushes you to the edge of despair, faith is the hand that pulls you back and whispers, things. There is more ahead. Nick's journey reminds us that fear may visit, but it does not have to stay. Things. He could have allowed fear to dictate his choices, telling him that he would never marry, never work, never live independently, things, and never inspire others. But faith overcame every one of those lies. Today, he is a husband, a father, an international speaker, things, and an author who has touched millions of lives. Things. His strength is not in what he physically has, but in the faith that allowed him to rise above what he lacked. Things. That strength could not have been forged without fear trying to hold him down, because without opposition, faith would have no reason to grow. things. Faith is like a muscle, and fear is the weight that tests it. The more you choose faith in the face of fear, things, the stronger your inner strength becomes. At first, the weight feels unbearable. Things. Fear screams so loudly that you wonder if faith can really silence it. But every time you choose to take one step forward in faith, things, even with trembling hands and a racing heart, you build strength. Eventually, things. What once terrified you becomes the very thing that proves how strong you are. Things. You discover that fear has no permanent power over a person who walks in faith. True strength is not about never feeling fear. Things. It is about refusing to let fear control you. It is about waking up every day and choosing faith over doubt, courage over hesitation. Things. And hope over despair. It is about realizing that fear may knock on your door, but you don't have to let it live in your home. Things. Faith gives you the authority to send fear away, to declare that it has no right to dictate your life. Things. That kind of strength is unshakable because it is not tied to temporary victories, but to the eternal truth that there is always hope. Things. When faith overcomes fear, you begin to see life differently. Challenges no longer appear as threats, but as opportunities to grow. Things. Setbacks no longer feel like dead ends, but as redirections towards something greater. Things. Pain no longer feels meaningless, but as a catalyst for deeper purpose. This shift in perspective is what creates resilience. Things. Resilience is not the absence of hardship. It is the ability to face hardship without being destroyed by it. Things. Faith equips you with resilience because it assures you that even in the darkest night, dawn will come. Fear paralyzes, but faith mobilizes. Things. Fear confines, but liberates. Fear destroys dreams, but faith gives birth to them. Things. Strength is the outcome of choosing faith over fear again and again until it becomes your default response. Things. Nick often says that if God can use a man without arms and legs to be his hands and feet, then what excuse does anyone else have? Things. That statement is not meant to shame, but to inspire, because it reveals the power of faith to overcome even the deepest fears of inadequacy. Things. True strength is not in what you possess, but in who you choose to believe in. Faith is not a guarantee that you will never fall. Things, but it is the assurance that even if you do, you can rise again. Fear will try to tell you that failure is the end. Things, but faith says failure is only feedback. Fear will try to tell you that you are too weak, but faith says that in your weakness, things. Strength can be made perfect. Fear will try to tell you that you are alone, but faith reminds you that you are never truly alone. Things. When you lean into that truth, you discover a strength that is deeper than anything fear can attack. Things. True strength is born not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of faith that refuses to bow to it. That strength carries you through storms. Things. Through rejection, through loss, and through uncertainty. It gives you the courage to dream again, to love again, to hope again, and to fight again. Things. It allows you to live not as a prisoner of fear, but as a warrior of faith, walking boldly into a future that is brighter than your past. Things. And in doing so, you become living proof to others that faith can indeed overcome fear, and that when it does, things. Strength unlike any other is born. Every setback carries the seed of a greater comeback. Things. And this truth is one of the most powerful forces that can transform a life weighed down by failure, rejection, or disappointment. Things. Setbacks are often viewed as endings, as signs that we are not capable or that life has closed the door on our potential. They arrive unexpectedly. Things, sometimes through the loss of a job, the breakdown of a relationship, the collapse of a dream. Things. Or the sting of rejection from the very place we invested our time, effort, and heart in. Those moments, it feels as though the world is against us. Things, as though we have fallen too far to rise again. Yet, if you look closely, hidden within every setback is a seed. Things, a small and often unseen opportunity for growth, learning, and renewal. This seed, when nurtured with perseverance and faith, things, has the potential to grow into a comeback far greater than anything we imagined before the setback occurred. When we think of setbacks, the first feeling that often comes is defeat. Defeat tells us that we are not enough, that our effort was wasted, that the failure defines us. But the truth is that setbacks do not define us, they refine us. They strip away the excess, sharpen our character. Redirect our focus toward what truly matters. They are not meant to be full stops in the story of our lives, but commas that lead us into the next chapter. Every successful person you admire, every story of triumph you celebrate carries within it moments of deep setback. What separates those who rise from those who remain down is the decision to treat the setback not as an ending, but as an opportunity to plant the seed of a comeback. Nick Vujicic embodies this truth in his own journey. Born without arms and legs, his life from the beginning could have been seen as one long setback. Society expected him to live small, to remain dependent, to give up on the possibility of a meaningful life. He faced bullying, rejection, and countless obstacles that could have easily convinced him that his story was over before it had even begun. Yet, instead of giving up, Nick chose to believe that within his struggles there was a hidden seed of purpose. That choice became the foundation of his comeback, a comeback so powerful that today he speaks on global stages, inspiring millions of people to rise above their own setbacks. His life is living proof that setbacks are not the end, but the very soil in which comebacks are cultivated. The process of turning setbacks into comebacks begins with perspective. How you see your setback determines how you respond to it. If you see it as the end, you will stop trying and the seed of potential will remain buried, unused. But if you see it as a beginning, as a redirection rather than a rejection, then you will start to water the seed with hope, faith, and persistence. Setbacks are not walls meant to keep you out. They are detours meant to guide you toward the right path. Often, what we see as failure is actually protection from something that would not have served us or preparation for something greater that lies ahead. History is filled with examples of comebacks born from setbacks. Thomas Edison famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. But each failure was not wasted. It carried within it the seed of learning that eventually led to success. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. Yet that very setback pushed him toward creating a vision that would change entertainment forever. J.K. Rowling faced rejection after rejection before Harry Potter became one of the most successful book series in history. Their setbacks could have broken them, but instead those very setbacks planted the seeds of resilience, creativity, and determination that fueled their legendary comebacks. Setbacks also teach humility, which is essential for growth. They remind us that we are not invincible, that life does not always follow our plans, and that we must learn to adapt, adjust, grow through adversity. Humility is not weakness. It is strength under control. It allows us to see where we went wrong, to accept correction, and to use those lessons to come back stronger. Without setbacks, many of us would never pause to reflect or grow. Success without struggle often leads to arrogance, but success born from setbacks carries depth, gratitude, and a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken. The seed of a comeback is not just about external achievement, it is about internal transformation. Sometimes the greatest comebacks are not about gaining back what you lost, but about becoming a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person through the process. Setbacks have a way of breaking down our pride, of showing us what truly matters, and of shaping us into individuals who can carry greater responsibilities in the future. When you endure a setback and choose not to quit, you gain inner strength that no one can take away from you. That strength becomes the foundation for every future victory. things. Nick often reminds people that he prayed for arms and legs, but instead discovered a purpose far greater than physical healing. Things. His comeback was not about getting what he lacked, but about becoming who he was meant to be. That is the hidden gift of setbacks. Things. They often deny us what we thought we needed, only to reveal to something far greater. You may lose a job only to discover your true calling. Things. You may face heartbreak only to find deeper love and stronger relationships later. Things. You may fail in one venture only to succeed beyond measure in another. The setback is not the end. It is the redirection toward your comeback. Things. It is important to remember that comebacks do not happen overnight. Seeds take time to grow, and so do we. Things. Patience is required to nurture the seed hidden in your setback. Many people give up too soon, walking away before the breakthrough comes. But if you hold on, if you continue to water the seed with persistence, hope, and faith, you will one day see the fruits of your resilience. Every tear shed, every effort made, every lesson learned becomes nourishment for the seed of your comeback. Setbacks also give you a story to tell. They create a testimony that can inspire others who are facing their own struggles. Your comeback is never just for you. It is also for the people watching your journey. When you rise from your setback, you give others the courage to believe that they too can rise. Nick's story has encouraged countless people because his comeback was not hidden. It was shared openly and authentically. That transparency is what makes comebacks powerful. They prove that ordinary people can rise from extraordinary setbacks. There is also an element of faith required in every comeback. Faith is what keeps you moving forward when you cannot yet see the outcome. It is what gives you the courage to believe that the seed buried in the soil of your setback will one day break through the ground. Without faith, setbacks crush hope. With faith, setbacks become opportunities. Nick's faith was what carried him through the darkest nights when he wondered if his life would ever have meaning. That same faith is what transformed his setbacks into a platform that continues to inspire millions. Setbacks will always come. No life is free from them. But the question is not whether you will face setbacks. It is whether you will allow them to plant the seeds of your comeback. Every setback is an invitation to grow, to rise, and to prove that your story is not finished. The comeback that lies within you is always greater than the setback behind you. What you lost does not compare to what you are about to gain. What you endured does not define your destiny. How you respond to it does. Your setback may be painful. But hidden in that pain is the seed of a purpose far greater than you can imagine. And when that seed is nurtured with resilience, faith, and hope, the comeback that blooms from it will not only restore what was lost, but multiply it into something more powerful, more beautiful, and more meaningful than ever before. Purpose is found in serving beyond yourself. And this is one of the most profound truths that can reshape the way we live, work, and dream. For much of life, people are conditioned to think of purpose in terms of personal achievement, wealth, recognition, or status. We grow up believing that if we accomplish enough, accumulate enough, or impress enough, then we will feel fulfilled. Yet countless stories of individuals who have reached the heights of worldly success reveal the emptiness that often follows. They stand at the peak of their careers or possessions only to find that something is still missing. That missing piece is purpose. And purpose is not found in what you gather for yourself, but in what you give to others. When you begin to live a life that serves beyond your own interests, when you begin to lift others, encourage others, and invest in others, you tap into a purpose that is deeper, stronger, and more enduring than anything else this world can offer. Nick Vujicic's life is a living testimony to this truth. Born without arms and legs, he could have chosen to focus on himself, on what he lacked. things, on the challenges that made his life more difficult than most. But instead, things, he discovered that the greatest fulfillment did not come from dwelling on his struggles, but from using his story to inspire others. Things, by serving beyond himself, by speaking to millions, encouraging those who feel hopeless, and reminding people of their worth, he uncovered a purpose far greater than any personal ambition. Things, his life reminds us that when we live for something beyond ourselves, we touch eternity because the impact we make on others continues long after we are gone. Serving beyond yourself does not mean you must stand on global stages or touch millions of lives at once. It begins in the small things. Everyday moments where you choose to put someone else's needs before your own, where you choose kindness over convenience. Where you choose to give when you could simply take. Purpose is built moment by moment, choice by choice, in how you treat the people around you. It might be as simple as offering encouragement to someone who is struggling, helping a neighbor in need, listening when someone feels unheard, or sharing your resources to make someone else's load lighter. These acts of service may seem small in the moment, but they ripple outward, creating waves of change in ways you may never fully see. The paradox of purpose is that the more you give, the more you receive. When you live only for yourself, life feels shallow and temporary. But when you live for others, you begin to feel connected to something greater. Serving others fills you with joy that possessions cannot bring, with fulfillment that titles cannot guarantee, and with meaning that success alone cannot deliver. This is why so many people who achieve external success later dedicate their time to philanthropy, teaching, or mentoring. They realize that fulfillment comes not from accumulation, but from contribution. Nick's impact around the world is rooted in this principle. When he shares his story with students battling depression, prisoners searching for hope, or communities struggling with poverty, he is not simply giving words, he is giving himself. He is serving beyond his comfort, beyond his convenience, and beyond his own needs. In return, he experiences a purpose so powerful that it sustains him through the challenges of life. That purpose is what gives him energy to keep going, passion to keep speaking, and resilience to keep inspiring. His life illustrates that purpose found in serving others creates a fire within that never burns out. Serving beyond yourself also gives meaning to suffering. Life inevitably brings pain, loss, and challenges. And if we only see them in the context of our own lives, they can feel unbearable. But when you use your struggles to help others, you transform pain into purpose. Nick's challenges could have left him isolated in despair, but by sharing them openly, he has given millions of people the courage to face their own struggles. In the same way, each of us has the ability to take what we have endured and use it as a bridge to help someone else. That act of service not only helps the other person, but also redeems our own pain by turning it into something meaningful. Serving others is not about ignoring your own needs. It is about aligning your life with something greater than yourself. When you choose to serve, you discover gifts and strengths you never knew you had. You find joy in giving, strength in helping, and fulfillment in lifting others. Serving beyond yourself expands your vision. It forces you to look outside your own world and see the struggles, hopes, and dreams of those around you. That expanded vision creates empathy, and empathy is the soil in which true purpose grows. Purpose rooted in serving others also creates legacy. Long after material possessions fade, long after achievements are forgotten, the lives you touch remain. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They will remember the encouragement you gave when they were about to quit, the support you offered when they were in pain, things, the opportunities you opened when they had none. Those moments of service become threads in the fabric of your legacy, things, woven into the lives of others in ways that time cannot erase. There is also a profound spiritual dimension to serving beyond yourself, things. When you live with the mindset of giving rather than taking, you align yourself with principles that transcend temporary success, things. Many faith traditions teach that greatness is found in service, that the measure of a life is not how much you gained, but how much you gave, things. Nick often reflects this in his speeches, things, reminding people that his life has meaning not because he is extraordinary, but because he chose to make himself available to serve, things. That availability is what makes ordinary lives extraordinary, because when you live to serve, you partner with something far greater than yourself, things. In a world that often promotes self-centeredness, serving beyond yourself stands out as a radical act, things. It counters the culture of individualism with a culture of community, reminding us that we are not alone and that our lives are interconnected, things. What you do for others comes back in unexpected ways. The encouragement you give may one day be the encouragement you need. Things, the help you provide may one day be the help you receive. Service is not a one-way act, things. It creates a cycle of giving and receiving that sustains communities and strengthens bonds, things. Even the smallest acts of service can carry enormous impact. A word of kindness may prevent someone from giving up, things. A gesture of generosity may give someone the chance to start again. A willingness to listen may heal a heart that has been broken for years, things. These moments may seem insignificant to you, but to the person receiving them, they can mean everything, things. That is why purpose is never about grand achievements alone. It is about daily choices to live beyond yourself, things. When you begin to live a life of service, you discover that you need less to be happy. Joy comes not from what you hoard, but from what you share, things. Fulfillment comes not from being admired, but from making a difference. Meaning comes not from being served, but from serving, things. This shift in perspective changes everything about the way you approach life. It changes the way you see your work, your relationships, things, and your struggles. Suddenly, things. Even the challenges you face can be seen as opportunities to serve, because they equip you with empathy and strength to help others in similar situations, things. Nick's journey proves that purpose found in service is not dependent on physical ability, resources, or status, things. If a man born without limbs can serve millions through his words, his presence, and his story, then every person has something to give, things. Your ability to serve is not limited by what you lack, but empowered by what you choose to share, whether it is your time, your story, things, your encouragement, or your skills. What you have is enough to make a difference when offered with sincerity, things. Purpose is not found in self-indulgence, but in self-giving. It is found when you wake up each day and ask not just things, what can I get, but what can I give? It is found when you see your life as a vessel of impact rather than a container of possessions, things. It is found when you measure success not by what you achieve for yourself, but by how you improve the lives of those around you, things. This is why serving beyond yourself is the pathway to a purpose that is unshakable. It creates meaning in the midst of struggle, things. Joy in the midst of sacrifice, and fulfillment in the midst of uncertainty, things. It anchors you to something greater than temporary circumstances and gives you the courage to keep moving forward, because you know your life is part of something bigger.